A couple of weeks ago, Gail and I finally got around to seeing it. We streamlined it. We could see it. The Boys in the Boat. Now, some of you maybe went to the movies and saw it. Maybe you've seen it before. But and I've heard about it. I knew about it roughly. Um, and I knew it was about, and it happened around 1939, and about some college boys that were on the rowing team. The eight, well, they're actually nine in the boat. The one's the caller, and they went to the Olympics and they won the gold medal. And that's about all I knew, but I didn't know all about it. The movie was very good, I have to say. I get frustrated when sometimes people say, "Oh, you just got to see this movie. You got to read this book." I don't want to say that to you. We found it very good, very inspiring. Maybe some of you've seen it too. But it's about these college boys. In fact, it's a book first. And once I saw the movie and I heard it was a book, I had to get the book. So actually, I went to the library and got the book, and it's written by Daniel James Brown. And of course, the book is the movie's good. Not saying it's really good, but the book goes really into the details. It's like there's a lot of good Christian movies out. I like the series, The Chosen. Some of you have seen that too. But I got to tell you something. I should have my Bible in front of me. Read the book. It's much better than any movie. Well, this book was very good. And really, really quick, if you're not familiar with it, these 8 or 9 boys are were from Washington, state of Washington, Huskies, and it was around 1939. And back then, rowing events, the 8 guys rowing, was really a big sport, especially with the elitist crowd. They would gather for these. And the best rowing teams were usually back east, not in the west, not in California, but back east, because that's where Harvard and all the rich schools were. And these guys were rowing, and they won all the events. Well, Washington developed a rowing team. And every year, um, you could try out for the freshman team. Only 9 could make it. Only 9 could make it. Um, but they might have a couple hundred people trying out to get on. Now, this was during the time of depression was going on, and I knew about that, read more about it in the book. And it was a time where a lot of the Washington guys that went there, they're very poor. And but to be on the freshman team, the rowing team, you could have there were some perks. You got a place to stay and maybe some food while you're going to school. I mean, and some of these guys have never been rowing before, and they're going to try out. And there's about, no, I want to say roughly 200 and that are trying out. Now in the movie, this is very good. It it you meet the coach, the head coach. Now there's other coaches, and the head coach is look. He says to all the guys trying out, he said, uh, "Welcome to the tryouts. But to be honest with you, most of you aren't even going to make it through the tryouts before we pick the 9 people, the boys in the boat, right?" And sure enough, if you watch this movie, you go, I don't think I'd last a half a day. I mean, the workout, the trying out, what it really meant to be on this team. Oh, it was, it's amazing. That the movie does a good job on that. The book does a better job on that. But that's okay. It's good. And sure enough, most of them drop out. And there may be 60 or 70 left. And the coach says, this is in the movie too. He says, "You've done good. Thank you. You're all great. You made it through the tryouts, but I could only pick 8 of you, well, or 9 of you." And the boys in the boat made the freshman team. Now, there's a guy named Joe in the boat, and the movie centers a little bit more on him, which is okay, and that's fine. But even watching a movie, why is it center on him? Why not all the other guys in the boat? And it does too, a bit. But when you read, and so I was really curious, and so I knew a little bit about this, but not much. And so I went and got the book, and then I started reading the book, and And I saw an interview. You can see interview from the author on boys or the boys in the boat, uh, and a good interview. In fact, the person interviewing this guy, and this is later in life, this is more contemporary times, they're asking him, well, how long did it take for you to write the book? He says, oh, the book almost wrote itself. I think it took a year or 2 years of him doing research. He heard about this way back when, but he really didn't understand it. He got newspaper clippings and this, did interviews. He went to the spots where the book takes place. And there was a lady that heard that he was writing the book, and she got a hold of him and said, would you like to meet my father? He was one of the boys in the boat that made the freshman team that went to Olympics, that got the medal. And the guy goes, heck yeah. And he meets Joe, and I can't remember his last name right now. And I think the rest of and he was in maybe his early 80s, late 70s, again, way back when he was doing this interview. And he enjoyed meeting him, hearing about his story. And he said, as he's sharing the story, actually, by the time he got around to writing the book, Joe had already passed away. But this was kind of interesting because as he's interviewing him, the Joe, the guy in the boat, is telling the author, Daniel, oh, I'm happy that, yes, please, it'd be great to get the story out. But he said, and this is in the author's notes, even before chapter 1, he said, but Joe said to him, somewhat seriously, it's not about me. It's about the boat. And then you got to thinking, what does he mean, the boat? Maybe he's talking about the guy. It's about all of us who are in the boat. It's got to be about them. Could be. Or maybe the boat itself, because even the making of the boat is really quite interesting. And you'll read about how Joe even had a part of that. Or maybe the boat is how the difficult times to make the team, they persevere. They hung in there. They learned to work as a team. Maybe that's the boat. Or maybe the boat is when we go through different difficult times, we will make it if we stay together. Maybe the boat is our faith. We could say it's Jesus Christ. I was asking some guys at the recovery, I shared this story just the other night about the boat. And I said, what does the boat mean for you? And one guy said, I don't know if I have a relationship with Jesus. I think the boat would be, for me, starting a relationship with Jesus. And by the way, he got to talk to a guy that day and I guess he got in the boat. Another guy said, I just want to, his wife is severe Parkinson's. He says, I just want to love my wife more. The boat for me is, oh, God, help me love my wife even more. Maybe that's it. I guess I'm wondering more and more, what is the boat for me? Sometimes I think the boat for me is, I want to be real. I want to be genuine in my faith. I want to be real when I wave walk. I don't know. Good question to ask yourself. What does the boat mean for you in your walk with God? Maybe that is walking with God's my boat. But what does it mean for you? I'm doing something now, and I'm doing shorts under a minute. Now this is almost 10 minutes. I'm going to finish right now, but I'm going to do shorts on this. But what is the boat for you? Ooh, okay, I said Pastor's hats wouldn't be more than 10 minutes. I'm going to stop right now because it'll be under 10 minutes. Hope you watch this.